Hey everybody, welcome back to the 171st episodes of Taps and Patience. I'm AJ with Subtract Manufacturing and Audacity Micro, here with Harrison of Precision Ingenuity.
How we doing, AJ?
I'm angry.
Yeah, like not having sound is the most awkward way. Like normally it's like it can be so loud it's annoying, but not having it feels like the podcast hasn't actually started.
So, background, because Jacob probably already fixed this for you guys, but for some reason Zencastr just does not have the music button today. So when Harrison and I were doing the interview, we couldn't hear the music, which apparently after 171 episodes we've come to rely on.
Yeah, it sounds like it hasn't started. Like it's like I'm not in the right frame of mind because
we're still in pre-podcast.
Oh goodness! So how we doing?
Man.
Notice anything different?
New shop.
Sort of.
Good. There's a sign behind you that says, I believe, good farts don't just happen.
Good parts.
Nah, I think that says farts.
I don't think so. I could look, but it would mess up the... Well, hang on. Actually, I can't.
Yeah, just turn around and look behind you at the...
Yeah, I'll turn around and look around. For those of you who aren't quite getting it, I finally got my new computer up and running, and so I can finally replace my background. So, but no,
definitely not AI generated.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, Doosan's do in fact have black lights and 2 e-stops. That is a known fact, and 3 feed hold buttons.
You can tell that Haas machines are more common than Doosan's because it nailed the VF2.
It did nail the VF2.
Like, it has all of the correct buttons on the controller. The screen looks right.
It does have 2 lights, one on the controller and one on the machine.
Yeah, you're right. Also, the column is a little wide.
Yeah.
But which one did you use?
What do you mean? Which one did I use?
Which image generator?
ChatGPT.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
The Taps and Patience logo also became a baseball team.
Yeah, it did. So I had that one, and then here, let me show you the other one I had. I don't know if I can change it while I'm going here. Let's see if this.
I'm sure you could.
How's that one?
That is the most ChatGPT image I've ever seen.
So there's that one. And then...
It's also the crappiest shop I've ever seen.
Yeah. And then there's this one. So this one has 2 Haas machines instead. Still kind of has the baseball... I do like the logo in this one.
Yeah. That's like very t-shirty.
Yeah.
But that shop, though, is like...
Yeah, that's like the
quintessential dungeon shop we refer to.
I saw that and I was like, I don't want that as my background. Yeah. I was like, I don't want people to think I have a crappy shop.
I like how all of the signs, except for the one that talks about farts, all of the signs say measure twice, cut once.
Oh, do they all say that?
Yes. Or all of the shops have a sign that says that.
Oh, yeah. So the signs, yeah, measure twice, cut once. Good parts don't just happen, and tolerances are not a suggestion, which actually kind of plays into something coming up later.
Yeah, actually, one of those is almost exactly one of the things that's on the thing that we're going to talk about.
I do like how behind the Haas ST, there's like another Haas, like it looks like it's the baby. See if I move my head over here. It looks like it's the baby desktop machine, like either the mill or the lathe in the background.
Or almost like their laser or something.
No, not their laser, because their lasers are pretty new and they have the white mixed in. Their desktop machines are like a solid color like that.
Yeah, it's fair.
So, and what's funny is I didn't tell it what machines to put in there. I just said a nice clean shop, and it put both those machines in there.
Yeah, it was close on the VF. It went with a VF2 instead of a VF3.
Yeah, and for the Doosan, it went with a D&M 4500.
The machine you should have got.
Yeah, the machine I should have got. And
speaking of which, is that still...
So there was a big company that was interested in it, and it had to get checked off by like the person's the person who wanted to buy it boss or something. And so it like kind of fell through. That or they found a different machine that they went with.
Bummer.
But they never even came out and looked at it. Like if they didn't get the approval to send out the guy to come inspect it. So
okay.
So like they never made it to our shop, and so it's still for sale. And we'll see what happens with it in the long run.
But it's still making parts in the meantime.
Yeah. It's ironically gone to become one of the most profitable machines at the shop just because of the parts it's running.
It's cranking out those little Datron parts.
Yeah, it's cranking out those little Datron parts, and it's faster accelerations for such tiny parts make a big difference. So
yeah.
It actually is it's doing a really good job on those parts. So yeah, pretty happy with it there. So
are you going to put a handy seaman on it?
A what?
That's the J-Spec Engineering spindle gripper.
Oh. No.
Because he's all sail themed, all nautical themed. Not that he knows how to spell nautical, but...
Handy seaman. No. If I was going to put that on anything, it would be the VF3.
Okay.
So we could get another automated 5-axis, because that's really what I need more than anything is an automated 5-axis. Another one.
So he was supposed to test for you if it works with through spindle coolant. He knows it works through spindle air.
Well, we're wanting to get through spindle air on a machine anyway, so like I'm not worried about that.
Then it's a done thing.
So
if you get that thing up and running, I may have to come out and take a video of it.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to if we can get it up and running. I'd love to. We're still wanting to get spindle grippers going. It's just become not as big of a rush.
Which means this is the time to do it.
Exactly. So like we're still have a lot of those parts, but like the urgency that I had at the beginning to like try to get parts knocked out for the customer, we kind of got them taken care of. And so because we got them taken care of, it became not as big of a deal. And it ends up, I think, working out better in the long run anyways. Because if we had rushed to try to get that going, that could have probably caused a lot. That might have actually caused more delays in the long run.
Yeah.
So the wrong time to try to get it going is when the shop's on fire and you need to get parts out the door.
Yeah. You need to do it before you need it.
Yeah. So I need to get one in. I need to start playing around with it, and then we'll go from there. So
sweet.
And then if I really am looking forward to get that going, because having the robot on the UMC, that thing is just cranking out parts and has been cranking out. Like, it took a while for us to get it up and going on the new parts. But now that it's going on the new parts and we have some of the old parts that we're going on it right now, ever since we've got that thing going, it's just been for the last month and a half going around the clock.
Is getting a new design set up, like a new batch of parts set up for the robot, is it mostly robot work, or is it like, making sure your program in Fusion is dialed?
You got to make sure that your program in Fusion is dialed. You have to account for every little detail, and you have to make sure it's going to be reliable no matter how the robot loads it.
So that's what takes the time, though?
Yeah, it's not the robot. The robot is very consistent. The robot has honestly been the least painful part of the process. It's basically making sure that how we're holding it is consistent, more than anything else. Like, realistically, it's making sure that you're holding it the same way every single time, and make sure that chips aren't getting where they shouldn't, making sure your parts eject when they're supposed to eject. Like, once the UMC is up to temperature, it holds pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I have had to like move features on the parts by like, a thou or two here and there, like shift them. And I think that's just because the machine's not level.
Okay.
So like, as the machine we haven't ever leveled it since it's been installed, and it's been about a year and a half. And when they came and they did their annual inspection on it, that was the big thing that they figured out, was like the machine is not level as it sits right now. And so I have to compensate for that in Fusion. But once it's compensated for, it holds tolerance fine. So like I can compensate for it in Fusion, but it takes more work to get it to be 100% perfect every single time.
So they still haven't come back out and re-leveled that?
We're on the schedule, but we're just they're pretty busy right now. And so I think they were supposed to come last week, but they ended up having some rush orders, or some, not rush orders, but like basically they had some customers that needed some help, and so we got pushed down, and that's okay because honestly the machine's running. It's running really good. I've got everything dialed in perfect, and after they re-level the machine, I'm probably going to have to go back in and tweak all the programs to kind of.
I was just going to ask that. So all of your programs are now dependent on the level of the machine, and if you fix it, all of your programs become wrong.
Yeah, so it's kind of like I want to get it fixed, but I'm in the middle of a production job, so I kind of want to wait till I get to the end of it. So like I'm not pressuring them to get it done, but like they measured, I think, in the y-axis that it was out about 1.5 thou. Okay. And that's about how much I'm having to move things depending on the feature. So that lines up with kind of what I'm seeing, but we'll see. Some of those features are kind of a pain because I can only inspect them on the CMM.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I have to run a part, and then I have to go inspect it on the CMM, and then I have to make adjustments, and then I have to run another part, and just kind of go back and forth until I get a good part. And then once I get a good part, we'll run like 5 or 10. And usually those 5 or 10 are pretty much bang on. And then I'm good to release it for production.
Yeah.
So.
But if you could avoid that runaround at the beginning, that would save you a lot of setup time.
Yeah. More or less, yeah. Now, I mean, it's the same out of level more or less every time now. Like the machine is settled enough that it's not really moving. So like even after a couple of months, it's been pretty stable. But I think once they get everything re-leveled, it might start unleveling itself again. But anyways, all that has to say with, if you remember when that machine was first installed, they said the casting was way out of whack. And I think it's just leveled over time. or I don't know. The gravity of it just sitting has just twisted some things. I don't know if that'll make sense.
Yeah.
But
now, if you want a more accurate machine, you can get a Kern. There's one on the used market right now. The rare used Kern.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did I send you that link?
No, you didn't.
It's not one of the newer, fancier ones. It's one of their older, like super high precision, but not very production rated ones.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like 170K or something like that.
Gotcha.
So it's actually like not out of the realm of other 5-axes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. Part of me yearns for the Kern, but
yeah,
I have better things to spend money on right now. But it's cool.
Yeah. And Kern has that cool internal palette system on some of their newer things, which are pretty cool too.
The Aroa system?
Yeah. Well, yeah. like the one at IMTS, it had, instead of the big tool changer, it had like the bottom rows.
Oh, that's true.
That had pallets. So you didn't have to have that thing on the side.
This was not that machine.
Yeah.
So this thing looks like a...
Is it like an A?
No. It's kind of a refrigerator shape, but on the inside, it's like almost a Tormach 770.
Oh, okay.
Like it's kind of that size. It does have like a big, huge tool changer, and obviously it's got all the Kern, thermal compensation sauce and all that stuff. But yeah, and it's 3+2, not full 5.
Oh,
which is interesting. But
yeah, no, we will need eventually another production 5-axis to keep up with the work. Especially if things continue the way they are.
Yeah.
So
I feel like you're more of a Matsuura shop than a Kern shop, though.
But yeah, potentially. The only reason I would say maybe not is because of the size of the parts we typically run are a little bit smaller, and that might be more beneficial with the Kern from a spindle speed perspective. Because I think you can get those Kerns up to like 40K.
That one was 50K.
So like, yeah. So like having that much RPM in aluminum would just rip versus I think Matsuura's still get pretty fast. I think they still come up to 20K, which is still a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
So,
is the Med Center a Matsuura?
No, that's Kitamura.
Is that a Kitamura? That's a Kitamura. Yeah. Okay.
Which actually, one of the podcast listeners just got a used Kitamura, and so I need to see what he thinks of it over time.
Do you know which one that was? Who that was? Because there's
it's the guy that got my sister machine.
Okay, because there's somebody that's been buying the like funky Kitamura dual table ones that he got one or multiple from an auction or something like that for like a steal.
So yeah, it was DLH Manufacturing.
Okay, that's not who I was thinking of.
So he's a listener to the podcast, and we chat a decent amount here and there. And he's got my twin VF3.
Okay. Oh, I was thinking the twin Doosan.
No. Twin VF3. Yeah. So.
Anyway.
Yeah. Get off my
Anything
phone.
else been going on in your world?
Let's see here. Just production stuff. I mean, for basically the last month and a half, we've been running 4 out of the 5 machines. Basically, the ST15 is more of a part-time machine, and but the others have been running nonstop. It's been pretty nice because of how much we've been running machines. We did our management review, which we do 4 times a year, and a lot of our hourly rates for our machines went down because of how much we've been running them over the last 3 months on average. And so it kind of, in a way, makes our margins come out better because we can charge a lower hourly rate for our machines. But it is kind of floating. And so like you don't want to mess with that stuff too much, but it does help in the long run if you look at it from like how much you can spread out that machine payment over parts. So
yeah, so you're making more parts now because of automation and systems and stuff. And so because of that, you can charge a little bit less per part, which means you get more orders.
Yeah. And so we had a couple parts that we were doing that were production work that we underbid, but because of our hourly rates going down on some of our machines because of how busy we're keeping them, and because we were able to find some time savings, I'm basically back in making profit on parts that I had underbid in the past.
That's good.
So it feels a lot better now that, you know, things are kind of going in the right direction. So beyond that, nothing really going on. We are working on getting the foundation ready for the new shop. And did I tell you what happened with our foundation and digging up?
I think Weston was working on it, but that's the last I heard.
Yeah, so we brought the farm backhoe out to like dig up, and it died.
You killed the backhoe?
We killed the backhoe. It's like a 92 model. We've had it for years. And turns out we blew out the fuel pump on it.
That seems easy to fix.
No.
Never mind.
This is a diesel fuel pump, and it's timed to the engine. It's a mechanical, 100% mechanical pump. So we had to send it in, and it was pretty expensive to get it all fixed up and going. And we had to send it in. I think we had to send in all the ejectors. I think what ultimately killed it, and this is just me kind of picking up little bits and pieces, Weston and my dad has been working on it. But it sounds like some crap from the pump or some crap from the tank got through into the pump, or because it's been sitting for so long, some water was in the lines and it rusted out some different parts of it, or combination of both of those things potentially. So anyways, they sent that off, and I think they've got all the parts in for it now. And so maybe this week on Tuesday, they're going to try to get it back up and running.
Okay.
So, but the backhoe's just been sitting like with the feet down, the bucket down, and the boom all the way extended out, like in the middle of digging a hole, because it died in the middle of Weston like taking a shovel load up.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that it ran for 2 or 3 hours before it just randomly died, and then it just wouldn't start again after that.
I mean, everything works until it doesn't. Like, there's always going to be some moment where it stops working.
Yeah, but anyway, so hopefully we'll get that up and going. And then other than like the shop stuff, I think the next big thing coming up is IMTS. So, which is coming up
2:00
quick.
Tormach booth.
Which is coming up quick, feels like. So,
I need to make sure I put a video on YouTube about that. The meetup, I mean.
Yeah.
I've mostly just been teaching and doing a awful job managing Subtract recently. I have a kind of normal machining class. I got the students for 2 weeks. They're from Caterpillar this time. And one of the interesting things about this group is like sometimes I get them before they've done other training, and then sometimes I get them like at the end of the training that they've done. And so this group, like, very first, kind of introduction to anything machining related. Like they've been working in the plant for a while. But when I got them, it was, like I always ask a kind of series of questions when I get a new group of students to figure out where they are. And it was pretty clear from the beginning that like, oh, okay, we're going to start by learning about what a thou is, and then read calipers, and then teach you how to read mics and that stuff. Whereas sometimes I get this same, like I do classes for Caterpillar fairly regularly. And sometimes I get them kind of at the end of their training where they go to a different school. They go to Ivy Tech to get some like theoretical training before they get to me. And from that, they're at least kind of generally more fluent, though they still need kind of a lot of hands-on stuff. And also I found the quality of that is a lot more mixed. I think because it's mostly just like remote e-learning. And so some of the students actually like, try to learn, and some of them just fly through it.
Yeah.
So at least this time everybody was consistent, but they were consistently pretty much a blank slate. But that class overall has been going very smoothly. The problem is I've just had kind of like a ton of things that have demanded priority in my personal life, like the whole tree on my house situation from last week. And so I'm like going to school, and I leave super early in the morning, and then I, teach until mid-afternoon, and then I have a long drive home. And so then I'm like, I'm tired, and it's only like 4 or 5 when I get home. But then I need to do, the tree took probably 3 days of work. Fortunately, I was going to say the Huff clan, but I don't think a single other person who came was a Huff. But my extended family came in and, helped me with the tree. The brother-in-law army.
There you go.
My sister's husband, my wife's sister's fiance, and my wife's brother. So all brother-in-laws of different varieties came in. And fortunately, my wife's sister's fiance does this stuff professionally. And I don't think we could have done it without him. For one, the other 3 of us only all we have is little battery powered chainsaws, the little DeWalt ones. And those are fine for up to, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 inches in diameter. But they certainly would not have done the trunk of this tree. And then he had like the ropes and the tools and stuff to be able to kind of pull it off. But anyway, I've gotten off topic here. The point is, like, between kind of the original cut down and then after that, the like following on cleanup, like that was probably 3 days. There was some other like kind of house and family stuff that like that was taking up a couple days. And then that's just like all I have time for. And Subtract has also needed a bunch of stuff for me. And I have been doing a really bad job at that. So I'm sorry, Jacobs, to both of you guys, because I have not been doing a good job of multitasking. The students are a little bit more independent, and now I can do a little bit of work on Subtract while I'm teaching. Like if there's a quote or something, I can knock it out. But I've been just kind of so swamped that I'm behind on like everything right now.
Now, did your house leak while the tree was down? Did you like have any internal damage, like from like water?
So we seem to be fairly lucky on tree damage.
Okay.
It certainly took out a gutter. We kind of pushed it back up into place to do something for the next couple of days or until we can get it fixed. And there is some shingle damage kind of on the edge of it. But that edge is on a porch. So it's not into like the main house proper. Okay. So it should be good. Fine. And in fact, I think it would be like under our deductible to fix. I don't think it's even to the point where we're like, getting insurance involved.
That's good.
It could have been much worse.
Yeah.
So that's finally at least mostly dealt with. I have a couple random piles of sticks and logs around the yard, but that's all that's left.
Is there any other trees you need to worry about that could fall down?
So there is one more limb of this tree that is over the house. And by limb, I mean like, it broke off into probably 5 different trunks. And so this was probably the biggest one of those trunks that hit the porch. But there's like a smaller one that goes straight over the house instead of the porch this time. Mm-hmm. It's smaller, but it goes directly over a part of the house we care about more. So he promised he would come, he being my brother-in-law or my soon-to-be brother-in-law or brother-in-law, whatever relation he is to me, promised he would come out and take that down with us sometime.
Yeah. We had a bunch of trees that like whenever we're getting ready for this edition, we were finally able to take down they were trees that had been planted to separate the shop from the house.
Yeah.
And they've grown really tall. And like there was one tree when we first bought the shop that was literally right next to the building. We took that one down first thing, but the trees that were between the two, they were the dividing line between the two properties, basically. And so it wasn't until the property sold and the other guy bought it, and we had a conversation with him that that he agreed that, yeah, it's fine to take down those trees, and he was okay with that because his house was also at risk of getting hit with those, depending on which way the trees went. So all those trees are now gone. So that's nice.
But the moral of that story was I've had a lot going on, and I can't really just like not go teach class for a day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's where I'm just about almost kind of sort of caught up. But it's like I was just basically 100% saturated the whole week with things I needed to do.
But now you have your robot. So could you not run it some while you were...
I don't need to make parts.
Well, okay. That's fair.
Making parts is the one thing I don't need to do right now.
That's fair.
Yeah, I have some more of those little nozzles that I need to drill holes in. I was waiting on a second batch to come in from the supplier, but that's literally like 15 or 20 minutes worth of work. So, no, I haven't needed to use the machine. I'm not taking work right now. That being said, I have played with Mongo a little bit. Because like as I'm at school, I can occasionally, do some vibe code prompts to kind of work on his system. And this weekend, I had some time to, kind of get in the shop and putter around, and I worked on him some. The biggest problem I'm having right now is networking for some reason. I absolutely cannot explain why, but I have a mesh Wi-Fi router system, right? Mm-hmm. Inside my house, that Wi-Fi mesh router system is basically as fast as the internet coming in. Mm-hmm. I maybe lose 5 or 10%, at the extremes of the house. However, okay, and then the shop Wi-Fi is running on like a Wi-Fi Ethernet bridge thingy, like a wireless bridge that, there's a receiver on the shop and a transmitter on the house. I guess they're both transmitters and receivers, and they span that, 100-foot gap and talk to each other. Those finally got installed well, and now my internet speed coming across there is really good. And if you are connected to that wire coming out of the little bridge, my internet speeds are still 75 or 85% of what they are in the house. However, and then I have a mesh Wi-Fi that is plugged into that one, right? So, and that's my Wi-Fi in the shop, and that's still fast. Like, I'm still very good internet speeds coming out of that Wi-Fi point. However, if I put a second mesh unit attached, or a second mesh unit that is not physically attached to the first unit, but meshing between them, the internet speeds, even hard-lined Etherneted, coming out of that second Wi-Fi point are just hot garbage, like 1 or 2 megabit, where everything else I'm getting like 200 plus megabit.
Is it because it's using some of those radio frequencies to communicate with the repeater?
I have no idea.
So because your first two are both hardwired, maybe you can use all the radio channels for Wi-Fi, but as soon as you add a mesh in there that's not hardwired, it's got to divert some of those radio frequencies to communicate with the other router.
I don't know.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me. I could be talking out my butt, but that's I'm not smart enough on that topic to be able to add more than speculation.
But a lot of the issues I've had with Mongo have turned out to all be because of that bad connection. So I think need to get a different type of router and just stick that in here, or basically just hardwire it to Mongo. Because I have right now the setup is I have one of those Wi-Fi mesh units that I was basically just using as a Ethernet port, right? It's like I have that Wi-Fi mesh unit there with Ethernet coming out of it. That goes to a switch, and then that switch goes to the Mongo computer and the Mongo himself. And I think and because of the way routers work, is I don't think Mongo and the computer can talk to each other directly over that switch. I think they have to go back to the main router, which is in the house. And that is slow and unreliable. So I don't know. It's weird. But
yeah,
I just need to install an Ethernet cable and be done with it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until I did a bunch of troubleshooting today and yesterday, though.
But you do have that one wireless bridge, though, right?
Yes, I have the wireless bridge. That's working great.
Yeah, it's just the repeater that's... And so, is the wireless bridge hardwired on both sides? Is it just acting like a wire between the 2 points?
It is, yes. As far as the rest of the network's concerned, it's a wire.
Okay.
I think it might be a flaw with the mesh units I have, because I think even though there's a mesh unit in here that is connected to that wire, they are also barely able to reach across the gap themselves. Like when that bridge wasn't working, I would get like 2 or 3 megabit internet in here, just because the Wi-Fi's were like right on the edge of their mesh range. And I think that for some reason, the router that's connected directly is using that internet, but it doesn't share that with the other access point.
Are they all the same brand?
Yeah, they're all Google Mesh Wi-Fi's.
Oh, okay.
So I think I just need to replace the ones in here with a different system.
Okay.
Do some ubiquity stuff.
Yeah.
Harrison may help. No, you're Harrison. Jacob may help me with that before IMTS when he's going to be up here. I may make him give me a parts list, and then I'll buy it, and then when he's here, he can install it with me.
Yeah. Ubiquity's nice at the shop. I really like it.
Yeah, I think I'm due for a full network upgrade.
So, fair enough.
Well, this machining podcast has been very on topic about machining.
Yeah. Do you have something more in line with machining?
I do. So I've mentioned this Caterpillar class that I've been teaching. And this is a machining class. And for when I start my machining classes, I start with a PowerPoint that is AJ's Rules of Precision Machining. And by AJ's rules, I mean like mostly stuff that he stole from Robin Rizzetti and other really smart people. rules such as everything is rubber, everything is a thermometer, nothing is nominal, inside corners have a radius, all cuts create a bird, unsupported edges, always aim to undershoot adjustments, small numbers are small until they aren't. And I start off my class with that, and then I can kind of refer to it throughout the whole rest of the class. So I found it to be a very useful teaching tool.
Mm-hmm.
And I've slowly added a couple over time. Don't forget the law of unintended consequences. That's a big one. But I was teaching a quality class the other day, and I went to start the class, and it was kind of like starting the class without its theme music, like this podcast episode. And because I didn't have that kind of starting point that both kind of sets the mood for the class and breaks the ice and, gets things rolling. And so I came up with AJ's rules of quality. And I could just tell when I was teaching it that I didn't have everything kind of fully fleshed out yet. Mm-hmm. Some of my wording was bad, and it needed some improvement. It needed some refinement. So I want to pitch AJ's rules of quality to you today, and we can, add, subtract, refine them to make them better.
All right, let's go.
Okay. Rule number 1, quality isn't an accident.
Okay.
I don't think there's a lot that we can really do to that one or talk about that one. You have to do things intentionally. You can't just kind of, you can maybe accidentally get stuff right once or a couple times, but with volume, you have to be much more intentional about it.
That is definitely true. Just because it came out once good doesn't mean it's always going to come out good. That is for sure.
It's kind of like this podcast. We had a good episode once. All right, next one. This one might be a little bit more of a hot button topic, but the only acceptable number of defects is 0.
Okay, that one's going to need an asterisk.
Is it?
It is.
How would you asterisk that?
Because there is no shop that is never going to have 0 defects made, period. You are always going to have an opportunity to make defects. The problem is 0 defects need to be delivered to your customer. That is the asterisk. I always encourage my employee to try new things, and sometimes those things don't work out, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But we need to check and make sure things are good, and as long as they're good, that's the way you learn. You learn by making mistakes. You learn by messing up. You do not give customer those parts, though.
Yeah. This is coming from the Shigeo Shingo Zero Quality Control book. The way I was kind of more meaning it, and it does not come across as stated, is your target needs to be 0. With the understanding that things do happen, but you shouldn't build a system that's designed to be we just accept 3% defects and that's fine.
Yes.
But you always should be aiming for 0.
Yes.
Even if I agree that is maybe not impossible, but it's only possible with caveats.
So my biggest fear in that statement at face value is that it can breed a culture of, I want to say, complacence, in the sense that you do everything so carefully that you're not growing.
Fair.
That would be my biggest fear with that. If you're always in such a mindset that I cannot fail no matter what, you're not going to be running your parts optimally. You're not going to be trying new things. You're going to find something that works, and you're never going to want to deviate from that ever again. And that, I think, is a mindset that kills shops in the long run.
I see. Interesting. I see this as the other way around, because if you're aiming for 0 defects, the only way you do that is by putting in good controls that will either keep the defects from happening in the first place or catch them before they're passed on to the next station. For example, like a Poke-Yoke feature. So if if one of the sources of defects is loading the part in the vise backwards, then add a pin or whatever in your vise so that it can't be loaded backwards.
Yeah, but I also see the point of like 0 defects allowed as the mindset of, well, we've always done it that way because it's always produced a good part.
Yeah. That is an interesting way to frame it. We'll think about that. My next point, though, I think kind of undoes that way of thinking, because my next point is everything is an experiment.
How's that a quality thing?
Because whenever you have a process, whenever you're doing it, it should be measured, and you should be able to track like tweaks and stuff and see if they're working. Okay. So if you basically treat any change to your system as if it is an experiment. So have a baseline before you make the change, and then see how the change changes things. So if you have, let's say you're trying to improve quality on this widget, and you change from a 1/2-inch tool to a 1/4-inch tool, know the data before and after, have that set up, and be able to look at it kind of logically and scientifically.
Okay.
And I would say also with that is, be willing to change stuff and see if it works.
Yeah.
Okay. Measure what matters. That's the next one. So this would be in relation to, kind of the feedback loop. Like do you
have any statement that's along the lines of everything matters?
No.
Okay.
Because I don't think everything does matter. So in this case, it would be like if what you really, really care about is the perpendicularity of a part, don't just measure like the thickness in 2 places. Try to make your measurements match the end use of the part more than, maybe I don't want to say more than what the drawing says, but think about what the end use of the part is and get as close to that as you can, or even specific, not necessarily even specific to a part. So if your goal is to ship more parts to the customer, then you should be measuring the amount of parts that you shipped. What you should not do is measure the amount of parts that you make. Because if you measure the amount of parts that you make, you're going to make a whole lot of parts. But what you actually care about is measuring the amount of parts that you ship, because there could be a gap there that is scrapped parts or parts that are rejected in future steps. And I suppose I did mean it more in the latter than the prior. Like I said, these need workshopping. These are not perfect yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what's your next one?
A defect is worse than burning money. Or if you want to get more specific, a defect costs more than the material that it takes to make the part that is defective.
Yes.
Because you have to, one, you make the part, that takes time. Yes, it came out of material, but you also spent the time to make the part. You also spent the time to inspect the part. And then a lot of places do rework. Mm-hmm. And there are companies that have entire rework departments.
Yeah.
So I was talking the other day to a major engine block manufacturer who made very, very, very large engine blocks. They had a rework queue of 150 pieces or something wild. And they were saying that there were so many in their queue their rework queue that they just gave up and decided to scrap a bunch of them just because it wasn't worth the cost of the rework. The defect trickles down a lot farther than just the cost of the wasted materials.
Yeah. I agree a lot of times with the sentiments that you're stating, but the way that they're worded is challenging. It's not an easy thing to capture.
And to be fair, a lot of these are kind of deliberately more dramatic, and then I like to get their intention and to make a to make a statement, and then I explain them a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
This next one was really fun in the quality class because they had management there, like kind of evaluating the class to see if they wanted to keep doing it. The root cause of most defects is management, money, or inexperience. So starting with the end there, inexperience. So sometimes you've just never made the part before. It's a brand new part. You don't know how to make the part, and that's fine. And it can be inexperience at literally the person level. Like, this person just isn't very good at loading vices yet because they've only done it, a dozen times, and you need to do it 1,000 times before you get really good at it. Or sometimes it's literally just like, company introduces new product line, and guess what? There's going to be surprise challenges with the new product line. Like, you just don't know what you don't know until you do it. Yep. So that's the inexperienced part. In terms of money and management, it all basically that comes down to resources. So if do you have enough time to get it all done right? Do you have enough time to get it set up? Do you have enough time to, really get the process proved out? And time and money are basically interchangeable. And then in terms of management, are they enforcing standard work? Is there standard work in place in the first place? Are they letting employees be sloppy, etc.? Okay, here's the one that I regret the most, and my students absolutely took the wrong way, and I regret it. Shorter leashes are better. That was the thing. What I meant is short feedback cycles are better.
Mm-hmm.
They took this as, I think management should be, micromanaging. It was like, no, that is not what I meant.
Yeah.
I am a strong believer in letting individuals do things individually, but the feedback cycle between production and measurement needs to be tight.
Yeah. And there's a way, shorter feedback instead of shorter leashes. But I kind of like what you're saying with the shock and awe. You just need to find a better way to say that.
Yeah. I'm going to change it to faster feedback cycles are better for now, because I don't want to confuse people in the same way that I did last time.
Oh, feedback needs to be localized.
Feedback needs to be localized. That's kind of the measure what matters thing, too.
Kind of, but basically, you want to try to keep that loop as small as possible.
Yeah.
So you don't want it to be shipping all the way, down the line. You need to get it figured out right then and there.
Yeah. You don't want to do 100 pieces and then realize that all 100 are wrong.
Yep.
Which, by the way, is another way that money can cause defects, is because you might make a bunch of pieces and then realize that you can't afford to remake them or fix them. Faster feedback cycles. Maybe tighter feedback cycles. Would that be a better word? Because
feedback needs to be fed. I don't know. I'm trying to think of
it's very catchy.
It is catchy. You need to feed feedback. What's a catchy way to say that?
Feedback. Hardly know her.
But yeah, that's there's something there.
Yeah, once I teach this like 6 times, then I'll have a good version of it.
Measure what matters does kind of tie into that. Because if you have a short feedback loop, you have a short feedback loop by measuring what matters for the process you're doing at that time.
Yeah, I think I need to get better at explaining the measure what matters part. I think the phrase is good, but my explanation of it is bad.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Do better than yesterday. So it's kind of the idea of continuous improvement. The whole point of continuous improvement is that it is continuous, and you don't have to make big steps or big leaps all at once. Just do better than you did the day before, which also, again, one of the, I think, most freeing parts about continuous improvement is it means that you can get better in a step that isn't perfection. So like if you aren't doing continuous improvement, if you're doing lumpy improvement, then you get into this trap of, I need to spend 10,000 hours coming up with the absolute perfect system.
Yeah.
But if you accept that it's incremental, then it's like, this is 25% better. Let's do that. And then, the next day, oh yeah, that's 10% better. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And it keeps it takes out some kind of analysis paralysis and kind of frees you from needing to come up with something that's perfect.
And I will say a good example of that from a personal perspective is that we've been making these magwells now for 2 years, and I still find improvements to this day that can be made just by looking at it with fresh eyes and going, why were we doing it that way? Like we got it into our heads that was the best way. And looking at it with a fresh set of eyes, we go, oh man, we can save time by doing this, this, or this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, this is another one that I'm kind of wondering if we should just get rid of.
Okay.
So it was quality control applies to your equipment too. That's how I wrote it. Basically meaning that when I wrote this, my theory was, make sure you're doing preventative maintenance on your machines so that they don't get into a state where they are making inaccurate parts or causing outages that then have repercussions down the line.
A better way to phrase that might be clean the pots and the oven. Because you want to have, if you're cooking, you want to have clean pots, but you also need to spend time to clean the oven as well.
Yeah. That works. I changed that.
So, I don't know if there's a better way to say that, but if you're baking, well, I mean, everything I said is pretty obvious, but I'm just trying to think of a better way to make that analogy. But I kind of like that. Clean the pots and the oven.
Works. This is one of my favorites. This got the best reaction out of the last class because, like I said, there was some management there. Rules don't improve quality.
Oh yeah.
So you need to have actual systems in place, that are physical hard systems.
Mm-hmm.
You could also different class, but rules don't improve safety. Would also apply. You can have rules in the shop that are don't get hit by flying objects. But what works better is an enclosed machine or a chuck guard or whatever.
It reminds me of, I think it was Mike Rowe that was talking about changing it from safety first to safety third.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of that idea where if you dictate everything, then you take the thought process out for people to make it their own responsibility.
And yeah, management loves to put up signs. You go into every factory ever and you'll see so many signs around, put away your tools, but they have the toolbox 125 feet away from where they're actually using the tools. It's do you want to know why they're not putting away the tools? Yeah, the toolbox is too far away.
Mm-hmm.
So, rules don't improve quality or safety. Okay. Brains are for thinking.
Okay.
So this kind of goes back to continuous improvement or lean or whatever. Listen to the people who are on the shop floor. Let employees improve their own areas. Let them improve their own processes. Make sure you have good systems in place to listen to the people doing the work, especially in big companies. This is a big company problem. You probably don't have this problem at your place. But Caterpillar or Allison Transmission or Rolls-Royce or any of the other companies I deal with, this is one of their biggest problems.
Trying to think of a better way to say that.
I liked my brains are for thinking.
Yes, but it doesn't. I mean, brains are for thinking could apply to management who's way away from them and they're still not listening. They're trying to think everything up without asking the people.
True.
It needs to be
management has brains too.
It needs to be localized thinking is how the people closest to the problem need to be giving input. You need to take input from the closest source.
Brains are for thinking, ears are for listening.
I was trying to think of it if you're trying to diagnose a problem, you need to find the source. Mm-hmm. So you need to listen for I'm trying to think of it in terms of the best way to find a squeaky wheel is to get close to it. But I'm trying to think of a better way a simpler way to say something like that.
Yeah.
You can't diagnose a squeaky wheel from the wrong building. But I'm trying to think of a cleaner way to say something like that. where basically you have to go to the source to get the best feedback. I'll think on that one. See if I can come up with a...
Use your brain for thinking?
Yeah, I'll try to use my brain for thinking.
Okay. These two I had on the same slide, though I kind of treated them as separate points. And they are quality can be contagious and defects are contagious.
Yeah, I like that.
So quality can be contagious. You know, if you have a shop that, you know, looks neat and it's well lit and there's always clean floors in the bathroom and, you know, there's well-stocked paper towels and toilet paper and everyone around you is taking care of their workspace and doing a good job on their parts. And like, you kind of set the standard high for the kind of stuff that you're making. And it's both in the work that you do, but also kind of in the general shop environment. And the same thing can apply, however, for defects. So if everybody around you is doing bad work, if you are in a crappy environment that looks like the background that Harrison had a couple minutes ago, and you know everything's dirty and there's chips everywhere, and yeah, there you go. You work in that shop, then yeah, you're going to be more likely to make bad parts because the standard is set low, and so that's the standard that people are going to live up to. And then the last one that I threw in. Oh, sorry, were you going to say something on that?
No, I'm still thinking about the squeaky wheel or the use your brain, but I'll let you keep going before I.
Yeah, the last one is one that I added in after I did it, mostly because I was thinking about my other presentation that I give, my machining one, which is don't forget about the law of unintended consequences. Mm-hmm. The law of unintended consequences says that if you have a complex system, which all machining and manufacturing environments are, if you make one change, unexpected things will change as well. And you can't forget about that. So that means, one, you need to make sure that you're doing a good job of measuring. You know, everything's an experiment. You know, if you change from a 1/4-inch end mill to a 6 millimeter end mill or vice versa, you need to be, you know, tracking the quality changes in the part so that you can see if it did make a difference, even though theoretically it shouldn't. As we learned with Harrison, sometimes it does. By the way, I used to use an example in class for this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because of your 1/4-inch 6 millimeter end mill thing.
Oh, yeah.
You just got lucky you didn't go the other way around, too. Like, if you had started with the 6 millimeter end mill and then they ran out of those and you went to 1/4-inch end mills, you would have been chasing your tail for a long time on that, very confused.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. When you're making changes, one, make sure you have data in place where you can track the results of that change. And then two, just assume there's going to be something that you miss. So those are my however many rules that is. What did you think?
I like it. There's definitely some things that need to be workshopped a little bit more.
Yeah.
But like the sentiment behind it, I think I agree with mostly.
14. AJ's 14 rules of quality.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the both my explanation and the phrasing I think needs to be tightened up some. The worst one was when I said shorter leashes are better. That was the most misleading thing I said in that class.
Ooh, here's a good one for my squeaky wheel thing for brains are for thinking. To find the squeaky wheel, you must pay attention to the sounds around you.
Oh. Very Chinese proverb of you. It's more words than all my other ones.
I know. I can't think of a shorter way to do it yet. I'll workshop it some more. I'll see if I can come up with a good one.
There's definitely a lean phrase for this.
Yeah.
Like go to the Gemba, I think is what they say.
Yeah.
Take Gemba walks.
Yeah.
I was trying to kind of avoid that because it wasn't just like listen to the people on the floor, but also like everybody should be involved with their own improvements. Like there should not be a, lean improvement team that comes in and does improvements for other people exclusively.
Yeah.
Like, sure, that's a thing that they can and should exist, but like as a support role for other people. not the main thing. I don't know.
But yeah,
that class, the quality class at least went pretty well. That one was also kind of killing me because it was 3 hour. It was only a 3-hour class, but it was 5 days a week, 3 hours a day. But it was at a different facility that was farther away from me. And so I would get up, I would drive an hour and 20 minutes, I would teach 3 hours, and then I would drive back an hour and 20 minutes. So it was like 6 hours for 3 hours of teaching. You look like you're thinking.
Yeah, I know. I am.
Did we have new notes from Jacob here?
We do have new notes from Jacob. We do have
new notes. Well, we should probably thank our Patreons.
Yeah.
Our Patreons will help get us to our IMTS meetup that's going to be Tuesday at the Tormach booth. The IMTS Tuesday, whatever day that is. So definitely come there if you guys are at IMTS. It will be a lot of fun. Bring parts if you can, if they, will fit through the door and not dangerous or ITARs or whatever. Bring them so that we can, stand around and talk about them. Our Patreons include, but are not limited to, Zachary at Homeland Precision Industries, Zachary at Homeland Precision Industries, CJ at CS Machine and Fabrication, Brian at Headco, Matt at Modern Fuel, Russell M, Joseph E, Brian B, Jacob S, Chris at CDS Plastics, John at Schubert Design and Manufacturing, Alex H, Avery M, Chris B at Puda Creek Precision, Josh at Leighton Machining, Millen Y, Devin C, Christian O, Stephen M, Daniel R, James at Moultrie Ryan at Strata Manufacturing, Kyle at Chris Machine, Devin at Sinister Machine Works, Greg at Frogtown Manufacturing, James N, Benner at Prickly Pear Prototypes, Cam S, Shep at Alderson Prototyping, Jacob at Zona Precision, Jason at JLS Machine. Jason S is a different Jason. Joshua H, Christian Z, Leland at Bray Precision. They changed his name on me. Freaky Climber, Prescott at 1Z2Z Systems, Trey V, Alexander B, Scott designed the everything. Jamie at Nautical Work Holding, EJ at Nocturnal Welding, Chris at I was so close. Chris at Zyke Precision, Chris at Thoughtbomb Design, and as ever, Jake Brownson. All right, Q&A time from Rune. How did you get your first customer outside of Xometry?
I know I've told this before on the podcast, but we've got a lot of new listeners who probably haven't heard the story. But in the beginning, my first major customer I got that was not through Xometry was for me basically running around knocking on doors. And what ended up happening is I found a local company who had an employee that was actually someone I went to university with, and he ended up being the connection that got me through the door. And then he got us in the same week he put in his 2 weeks termination. Like he was gonna leave in 2 weeks. He was quitting. So we literally got in right under the door as he was heading out.
Nice.
And they've been a really good customer that we've had they're the longest running customer we've had, realistically. And they've been a good customer.
All of my customers come from YouTube. I guess probably I had some Instagram customers at some point too when I used Instagram more.
Mm-hmm. Ever since then, I've had a few through social media or the podcast, but all of my major customers have come through word of mouth of previous customers.
Yeah. That's I think how everybody ends up once their reputation matures a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think I've ever received a major customer. And when I say a major customer, I mean a customer that's been more than 10% of my business from anything other than word of mouth. So,
all right, next question. James N. AJ, do you see yourself getting Mongo to part load after you get the pallet loading all ironed out? No. I don't do the kind of work that part loading would be advantageous. If I did, I would probably spindle gripper it, potentially with Mongo swapping in pallets of material. But no, I don't think it's something I'm going to be doing. Oh, next question that I missed here. Do you still see a purpose with spindle gripper systems, or do you think the robot is better in most areas? I think if you can get away with it, spindle gripping's better. It's just more simple, and everything is controlled by the machine. With the downside of if your parts are any big at all and your machine's any small at all, then you just don't have very much room for parts.
Yeah. It all depends on the part in your machine.
But if you can, spindle gripping, I think, is the way. Zachary H., how do you guys feel about shops in general being pushed more towards looking into ambient air quality? Possibly whole shop filtration systems for employee health, keeping in mind that I work in a relatively tidy and clean shop. It's concerning to me knowing what I breathe in every day when I walk into work and machines are just pouring mist into the shop air. Even if I wipe machines down completely clean, they're covered in oil and gunk within a week. Not to mention air filters on electrical cabinets being completely caked with gunk within 2 weeks, oozing oil down the side of the machines. We do have mist collectors on most of the machines, but a lot of the times they aren't on because they're loud and don't work very well. And it's something I don't think management is overly concerned with. That being said, other shops are worse than that being said, he's seen a lot of other shops are worse than the one he's at now.
So that is something that we have a major concern with in our shop. It's something I think about a lot. I know it's something Weston thinks about a lot. The first thing I would suggest to management of that shop is get air quality meters and stick them all throughout the shop to measure. Because if you have those measuring things, you'll have
what matters.
You'll have a lot better case for getting them to bring in filtration systems in general. So like, I don't know, your shop could be just fine, or it could be way worse than management realizes. And as long as you have those meters, we have a meter in the center of our shop that we're constantly watching. And we've added in air filters and on all of our machines, and it's definitely helped, but it can still spike, especially with as many machines as we got going. And so we're looking at adding more filtration. That said, most of our machines stay relatively clean. We don't really get a whole lot of oil and grime on the outside of our machines since we've added our mist away systems. But I will say we do change the filters on them a lot, and they are expensive. So that you do have to maintain them for them to continue to work.
I wonder if he's working in a shop that runs oil instead of coolant or something too.
That could be. But air quality meters, you can get them for like $50 to $100 off Amazon. Just start. I mean, if you're that worried about it, you might just buy some and bring some to the shop and just set them up and be like, listen, I'm just curious. And then show management. Depending on how open they are.
I am very sensitive to stuff in the air. Like, you guys hear me cough and sneeze all the time, and my allergies are terrible. If there's smoke in the air or whatever, like if Canada's on fire and it's blowing this way, like that'll really kind of wreck me for a while. Even just like lately, our weather here has been very, very wet and humid, and all of the plants are just going crazy. And like, I might as well just be sick that my allergies are so bad. So because of that, I'm very careful about air quality. I've done everything I can to kind of isolate the biggest causes of like dust and stuff in my shop. That's why like the sandblasting cabinet and all the grinders are in their own little enclosed room. I also have a big overhead filter and an air quality meter, and I watch that. I don't have a mist collector on my machine, but unless I am running the MQL system that I have, I don't generally have like mist issues. And when I do run the MQL system, I've just stopped using it with coolant. I just use it for dry air at this point, just as an air blast to keep, because that did create a lot of mist and stuff. And so I try to keep that down. Yeah, no, I'm big into air quality. I do not like any gunk in the air. So I don't blame you.
Yeah. And our employee Ben, he has really bad allergies as well. And I've asked him multiple times what he thinks of the shop, and he's pretty happy with the quality of the shop. But we try to be as picky as we can because we want to make sure that we're not. We had that issue where we were looking at some of the filters on some of our equipment that had air going through it, and we found a lot of gunk on it. And that's when we started really paying attention to air quality a lot more than we were already. That's really when we made the big push to get all of our mist away systems, which came down to general maintenance. Like we were doing a maintenance on machines. We saw the nasty buildup on the filters, and we're like, we can't have that. And so we made our air quality better.
Do you want to read this next question so I don't have to deal with the pronunciation stuff?
Sure.
This one's on you.
Matt at Polar Precision. Is that Max. How you would? Or Max at Polar Precision? Polar pronunciation like propeller, but amateur. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that one and it was like, I don't understand.
I don't understand
Max,
either.
We're going to need more clarification.
Yeah. What is the best scale for machinist rulers and tape measures? For the 6-inch, I always have my pocket. I always have in my pocket, I like the millimeters and the 16th. I'm assuming the 16th inch graduations for like inch. I have a tape measure that as an engineer scale with millimeters and 0.050 inches.
50 thou is what you're looking for there. I have opinions on this one.
I do not.
The Minitoyo 6-inch scale that has millimeters on one side. I think it's graded to the 0.5 millimeter. And then on the other side, it has one scale that's, I believe, in 100 thou increments. And then below that, it has one in 10 thou increments. That is my preferred machinist rule. However, it does not have fractional on it at all because I don't really ever use that except maybe sometimes at the saw.
So I guess my thought on that is that the only time I use a tape measure is when it doesn't matter. And so I don't care.
Which again, sometimes at the saw.
Yeah. I use calipers at the saw. So.
How big are your calipers at the saw?
24 inch.
Oh, okay.
So I go up to 24 inches with calipers.
Do I have a 24 inch pair or do I have a 12 inch pair? I might have a 24 inch pair that comes out like once a blue moon, basically. But unless it's a 12 inch pair. I don't remember right now.
We got the Haas calipers.
That's what mine are too.
And let me see how much those cost. I'm curious.
Why was I making something that was 24 inches long is the real question.
You or me?
Me.
I don't know. Do you even have 24 inches of travel?
No. Now I've got to know. We'll do this on the outro. Are they 12 inches or 24 inches? Maybe they're like 18 inches. Patrick B. Oh, I already answered this one in the Discord. Am I done with videos for Tormach? Not yet. Can I give you an overview of what the deal is? There's a YouTube video. Just search for like Audacity Micro. I got sponsored by Tormach, and I go through the contract like line by line. Would I do it again? Maybe. Sure. I don't think Tormach would have me again. I don't think they were super happy with me for this contract.
Haas does not have anything go up to 24 inch, so it must have been a different brand. But they were not expensive.
That does make me think that mine might be 12 inches.
Yeah, that's all they go up to with Haas. At least on their website right now. I feel like they had some 24s. I'm going to need to check that tomorrow. Well, let's see here.
Yeah.
12 inches?
Okay, this makes way more sense. They're labeled C12 by 1, which means they're 12-inch calipers. Calipers, 12-inch, number 1.
Yeah.
Even these are like, why do I have those? Because my rule is anything that has a dimension over 6 inches gets automatically no quoted. But I apparently needed these at one point. 24-inch calipers must be huge. Because I think of these as massive.
Yeah. No. They are pretty big. And they might be the calipers we got when that machine shop closed down. So they were used, and we just used them on the saw. They're accurate enough for that, but we don't use them to inspect parts.
For reference only.
Yeah. So I like using them because you can get the length, and then you can lock the calipers, and so it's a lot easier on the saw with that. So you're not done with your Tormach deal then?
No, I think it was supposed to go to November. Except I definitely did miss a video or two in there. And so I don't know, it's a little bit beyond that.
Have they ever talked to you since then or followed up? Or is this?
We have exchanged far less emails than you would think.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. At one point there was like I missed 2 months in a row and they were like, hey, and that was about it.
Yeah.
So I think I owe them 2 extra videos beyond November.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've also done more. I guess it depends on how you count it. The really at the end of the day, the contract's going to end and my videos will not change. There's going to be about the same tempo showing about the same subject. So they'll get a lot more than this amount of videos from me.
And you already did like a 1-year review video or 6-month review video on it, right?
I was like 18 months.
18 months? Yeah.
Yeah. Which they didn't say anything about, but they didn't yell at me for it. So
yeah. Has it been out that long?
The video?
No, the machine. Wait, oh, yeah, I guess it was announced last IMTS and it's almost IMTS again. So
yeah, that makes sense.
That'd be about 2 years. Wow. It doesn't feel like it's been out that long.
No.
It still feels like a relatively new machine. I mean, it is, but
I was going back through my YouTube videos the other day to figure out when something happened. Mm-hmm. And I always have to remind myself that like I really haven't been doing this that long. Like in the grand scheme of things, like kind of the modern version of the Audacity micro channel is only like 6 years old. And by modern version, I mean like AJ with a Pocket NC.
Did they update they did update the 770 MX.
Yeah, that happened not too long ago. It got a bunch better.
Yeah, I'm looking at the spec sheet on it and it's faster than the 1100 MX.
It's got EtherCAT now.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. That's a really good machine.
Yeah, they redid the 770 and the new one is slick. I did not know it was faster than the 1500, but that actually makes sense because I bet it uses similar motors.
Not the 1500, the 1100. Did I say 1500?
Yes, but it's definitely yeah. It's definitely gonna be faster than the 1100 because the motors are better. Also, it's got less mass to swing around.
But it's not a ton faster. But it's 300 inches per minute for the 1100, and it's 450 inches per minute for the 770.
Yeah,
which is still a decent increase.
It's not epoxy granite, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah. And it's probably they probably are not going any faster because it's not linear guides either. Because it's
that's true.
And so I bet it would be faster than the 1500 if it was epoxy granite and on
rails,
linear rails instead.
They'll get there someday, I hope.
Yeah. They did up its horsepower too.
Yeah, probably because it has that same EtherCAT motor that's in the well, okay, it's probably not the same one that's in 1500, but same idea.
Yeah. Continuous 2 horsepower out of a 110 outlet. That's impressive. Or no. They actually upped it's single phase 230 volt.
Oh, it's not 110 anymore.
It's not 110 anymore.
Interesting. That kind of makes sense. That's a trade-off I would take, I think. Leave the 440 single phase, no matter what you do to it. But the 770, I think, can be...
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, they both would be single phase, but 110 volt versus 220 volt.
Yeah.
It also has you can also get the much better wireless probe for it.
That's pretty cool. Got anything else?
Nope. I'm playing the music right now. You just can't tell.
Oh. Da, 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 da. No. All right, guys. It's guys. This is an awkward outro because I don't have the music blaring in my ears.
They're always awkward outros.
It's more awkward. The most awkward. No. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with us for this week's episode. And please like, subscribe, tell a friend, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget about the meetup at IMTS coming up. And we're looking forward to seeing you guys out there. Bring a part. And yeah, we'll catch up with you guys later.
always one of a kind.
Waiting for AJ's awkward outro.
Oh, sorry. I was sending a message to Jacob.
Bye.